This is Justin AMZN on Monday, March 9th, 2020. Take a look at the 5-minute. You can see the massive gap down from Friday and looked like it was going to sell off. Took out pre-market lows slightly and a lot of buying came in. Look at this massive, the volume here, this was probably all the people shorting that weren't filled until the market opened. Maybe they didn't know they could short or stopped being hit anywhere down in here that all filled way down here. And then some buying came in. And the buying pushed us up right back up to where I said 1815, 1841.30, and almost got into 1863.84. And then 1863.84. Almost got there. The high here was a tweezer top by 7 cents. Didn't get back up into 1880.05. That's okay. Looks like we maybe headed that direction for tomorrow. But had a massive retest, being a bearish gap and go. So we had a bullish candle on Friday, gap down as a bearish gap and go, and it's allowed to retest. It definitely retested. Putting a really nice bearish candle, a small candle. Now, if it had broken below this, that could have been a trigger to go continue bearish. But it was so far down, it just made sense to fade it back up. That's why I talked about retesting into this area, and we very much did. Came back into 1841.30, back down to 1815, back up. Pushed right on up through. This looked like it was going to be maybe a double top here. And then some buyers came in, really nice hammer there that continued it on up. And then this, let's see, this candle and then this upper wick were taking out the earlier high. And then this candle, this is the trapping candle. So this was bulls loading in. You can see the spike in volume, pushing things up, and that was all the bears were going to give them, because then it came tumbling back down. Now, it didn't come all the way back down to the low, but it came back into our pivot here, a nice little hammer here that quickly got broken down, retested, came right back up near the high of this candle, and then rolled back down. And then just chopped around in this range before finally, in the last 5 minutes, like it literally took the last 5 minutes that it sold off. But after hours, we've got, it continued to sell off, and then it's recovered. So if we open flat tomorrow, that'd be opening at 1841. That would be inside of this channel, really up in this zone, right in here, which would be a bullish retest. Now, it could still be retesting this gap. It could be retesting this gap. Maybe we've put in a bottom. I don't know yet if we have, but we bounced off of a really nice level. This is part of our uptrend channel, the bigger, longer term time frame here. And if we can get a gap up, look for a slight sell down, maybe into 1815, and then for that to hold and bounce like it's held here and here. If we gap up over it, then it doesn't look like we would continue to have that as a pivot right now, if we're above it. Obviously, we gap down below, but we could turn this into what's it called, some sort of like abandoned baby or something, whatever the candle pattern is, where you gap down and then get back up out of it. I'm not saying it's going to gap up above 1863.84 tomorrow, but if it does, that'd be even stronger, seeing that we, gapped way down, traded around, chopped around, and then gapped up. I'm thinking a little more of an inside candle. Even if we get inside of this upper wick, it may tag up here at the next couple of pivots if we get some bullishness to come in. We went down so quickly. This could turn into some sort of double top. We could at least come back up maybe around 1950, nice round number up here, and come into the channel here. We sold down from that in 3 days and touched, went from, I can highlight it, from this top to this bottom, of the channel very quickly. Anyway, back to the 5-minute Monday. With things being very volatile, directional options were tough. I'm going to look at some weeklies. So this is the 2000 strike call. You could have been buying it cheap, really cheap, getting into 2 for $50, or getting into 1 at $1 up in here. Maybe pay up a little bit, getting in at 150 or 2 with a stop down at 1, and the stop was nowhere near it. And that you could have flipped out, up at 3, 350, 4. Give you a couple opportunities to do that here and here, but that's it. And this is 2000 strike. We're at one point in the day we were around $140 away from this. That was near the high. Now, if we come back into, say, a 1900, which would be the next, let's see, that's not what I expected. 1900 call. Okay, I don't know that that's real. Seems really strange that price would be there. But anyway, yeah, so this ran up, and the candles were just really, really large. All these candles are more than $1 range, 179 range, 177. Yeah, so these candles were just a really large range. And so that's what made it really tough, even if we go to 1950. Sorry, hang on, I got stuck. And it's still stuck. There we go. Just trying to zoom back in. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the volume starts to taper off a little bit here. You get some of these lines. You put in kind of a nice high base up here between like 6 and 7. That was this range. So like from 930 to 10. 930 to 10. That was in here where it looks like it could be bouncing. This was a nice little triangle here, making some lower highs, relative lows, or slightly increasing lows, and then ultimately stair-stepped and then broke out. Retested that kind of a stair-step or that kind of triangle with this hammer. Actually buying the low of that would have worked better, but still you're right in the middle of this range. I really like the idea of shorting from up here. So let's go look at some puts and see. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to grab what time that was. So the high up here was at 11:10. If we go into the puts at 11:10, the low in here was 355, and the low was like constant all day. It's like, even though it's going bearish, the it wasn't very directionally bearish. It was much more of a chop, and it looks like it's selling down after or right at the end of the day, but we know it looks like it's going to recover. I wonder if there'll be just a lot of bears that are trapped in here, loading in, looking for it to go lower. You can see some of the volume coming in towards the end of the day. People think, okay, it's going to roll over again. There's so much fear, and instead, it could roar higher. So on the 30-minute, there were some triangles that were showing up in here. Now we had an initial breakdown, another breakdown here. We could recover, like I said, back up into 1950, 1925, retest this kind of a triangle here on kind of a bigger time frame, and then continue on lower. That'd be fine. I wouldn't get in the way of it doing that, but there could be some bullishness coming in, especially because this looks like some sort of a double bottom, maybe. We've done a bunch of those. These we've rolled back down. This one, I don't know if I see a clear double bottom there. The other thing we could do is we could make another triangle like this one over the next couple days and just go sideways, and then all the bulls, all the bears going directional are going to lose premium as it just gets sucked out. And there's so much volatility. The premium's really high. You're paying extra for bid-ask spread. You're paying extra for just the volatility. And so if it chops around in here, it really needs to break a high or break a low for it to show us it's going to do something. Right now, it actually looks more like it's setting up for a triangle. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be this steep on the high, the lower highs and higher lows. it could settle out and do something like this where it, goes out to a high like 1850 tomorrow and a low of 1775. It could be a really drawn out triangle and it'll just bring in more people. So if we don't go directional, we'll know pretty easily if we are starting to go directional. You see, some bigger volume come in, continue some of these candles. But right now, that's just a lot of bullish candles here. Now, obviously, they're on lighter volume. It's after hours, but there's still something said about the direction here, even if it is on lighter volume. We had some nice buying during the day on the 30-minute. We had some nice buying after hours on the 30-minute. We'll see if we have some choppiness come in, pre-market, like we had bearish candles here and bearish candles in the second half of the day. But what's really interesting is you can see this is a really nice inverted hammer. Bullish candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into an inverted hammer, and then you get some selling to come in. So really nice way to look at it. Looking at bigger time frames. Oops, clicked the wrong button. Looking at bigger time frames like this helps me get my bearings. Just waiting and watching for the right kind of setup. And so also along with that, thinking, okay, where shouldn't it go? It shouldn't really push too much higher than this level, which means you're starting to have a really, really nice small, risk. So your reward, if it does actually work out, can be really nice. If we come back into, this was 1,600 puts. Technically you could have been buying at 4 and flipping it out at 550. Can't quite tell if it got up to 6. I don't really think it did. No, that's, I was on the right candle, 603. It did get up there. If we look at 1650 puts expiring this week, the volume drops off tremendously. You get a little better bottom here at 6, and that runs up to 8, 9, so that worked a little bit better. 1,700, so at one point we were only 60 something bucks away from that. That was, so much money was made just by holding bearish from Friday to Monday. Somebody was buying this, hopefully they weren't selling it here, but hopefully, they're buying here. It's a little lower wicks, someone bought and then sold it open today. That would have been just a huge, huge gain. So, oops, just trying to zoom in. There we go. Okay. So that same time, 1110, put a low right at 995. Didn't get back into 10 bucks. Didn't get back into 10. But that moved up to 15. But again, this is 1,700 strike. And, at the point of where it made this low, think about it, the low here, we were way up here. We were, about 160 points away from 1,700. And so to expect it to roll all the way back down, some things did. This one just didn't, it didn't really show signs it was going to do that. And so even waiting later to short it, could have paid off. You're getting in around the same price and you're making a little better gain. But this is like a $5 range and it's still so choppy in here. Would really like to get something directional. But we've had a lot of that, and I think we need a little bit of a rest. There's going to be a continued battle between the fear and the optimism. So we'll just have to continue to watch it, and hopefully some of the premium will get sucked out, and we can start looking at options that are a little bit closer and ones that have opportunity to have some big moves, go in the money. Those could be later in the week. We'll continue to track and figure out what we can to recap the day and have an idea of what to do tomorrow. So I hope this helps. This is Just AMZN. Thanks.